also an actress. I've recently been in a film, and I'm also a veteran.
And I'm Mayrood. Up until just like a month ago, I was the Transgender Autostraddle. I still write for them very much. Like, it's not like anything bad happened. But I'm just moving on to also other things. Because I need more money, you know. But yeah, so I'm a writer. I write about a lot of comic books, all ages media, a lot of TV about trans stuff, and yeah, I live in LA and I'm on Twitter.
I'm John. Hello. I'm from Seattle. I am a school teacher and a con runner, and yeah. I brought fans for support. Yeah, that's you.
I'm Krizten. I don't do anything in person. And I'm just here. Hello.
I do, if I can say one thing. So one thing that I am excited about for the panel last year, was anyone at the transfer panel last year, which was wonderful, and yes, you were on it. And last year there were 3 wonderful trans women who were on the panel, and it was fantastic. I must confess, I'm excited that we have a bit of a broader spectrum this time.
Yeah, absolutely. No, absolutely. I agree. Yeah.
I will speak for you. Sure. Krizten identifies as non-binary. I identify as transmasculine.
Oh yeah, should everyone in the room say pronouns? That's a joke.
But yeah, so we're hoping today to talk about a broad range of trans representation in television and all kinds of media. And we have a super loaded PowerPoint with like 3 hours of stuff.
Also, the PowerPoint, we're not going to like stick religiously to it. It's so that you guys can see the stuff written down, like the names of the shows and stuff that we're going to talk about. But so let's jump right in, right? So, I mean, these are just basic overall things. I don't think we need to go through detail answer all of these, because we're going to talk about more of it when we talk about specific shows. But so just, I guess really quick, why don't all of us say what we think good and bad trans representation looks like? Does anyone want to start?
I will. So for me, personally, good trans representation actually shows well-developed characters that are there for the storyline, and they will show the background of the character. However, for me, personally, I don't think that as a transgender character, you have to continually point out that that character is transgender. Okay? They're there as a character. They're not, you shouldn't have them there as window dressing. If you're going to put somebody in there, case in point, what the con's named after, Clexa, they should be there. Don't just kill them off for a storyline. Okay? Bad representation, personally, because I am a transgender actor, the thing for me is all these roles that are available for transgender being played by people who are pretending to be transgender. You have transgender people out there. That's like giving a part for a black person to a white person just because you feel that they've got a better name. Now, in one part, that works great. You need to be able to push your movie. You need to push your TV series. You want characters that are well known. But you also need to develop characters and people so that they can be well known. If you have somebody that's trans for a trans part, by God, put that trans person in there. If you have somebody that's for LGBT, any part, QIA, put them in there. There are people out there that are willing to play those parts.
Yeah, I mean, like that, a lot of it, I think especially good trans representation needs to be diverse trans representation. Like you said on this panel, it's good that we don't just have trans women, we have trans guy and non-binary, I don't know. Yeah, exactly.
This is a living show.
And we need like black trans people, brown trans people, disabled trans people, old trans people, straight, gay, like, because trans people aren't just all the same, and we already have so many misconceptions about us that pretending that we all look exactly the same isn't helpful at all. And for bad trans rep, I agree, like having, especially having male actors play trans women, I think is really problematic because it ties into things that lead to violence and murder against trans women. I think we need to be a little careful in comparing it to race, just because there's so many different things tied up in that. But also I think just any representation that reinforces, again, those things that create violence and murder against trans women, so things where it's jokes about men in dresses, things where the character is just only, like they don't even have a name, they're just like dead sex worker number 2, and they're just completely dehumanized. Things like that that encourage people to see trans people as disposable and as freaks or perverts or criminals, whatever. So yeah, like it has real world effects. Or bad trans representation has real world effects, and I think that's a pretty easy way to tell it is bad.
Yeah, for me, good representation I think comes down to 3 things. There's intent, there's information, and reactions. So the intent of the showrunner. Did you want to bring a trans character on for the sideshow novelty? Oh hey, look at this. Ooh, we have a trans character. A lot of that to me feels like you're doing it for a stunt, you know, maybe some kind of publicity stunt. It's not for the benefit of the community. It's for some kind of selfish gain that seems very surface.
And it's not for the benefit of the story.
Right. It can be very damaging, actually. And information. Have you done research on your character? Have you actually talked to trans people? Are you hiring a trans actor? Do you have someone talking into your ear that is telling you what actually happens for trans people in their experience versus, say, going on Wikipedia and reading about it? And then the reactions of other characters to that trans character. Are they freaking out? Are they judging them in a very negative way? Or is it just, okay, is it a non-issue? Is it even necessarily talked about? Or is it just normalized? Because we're people, just like any other. And so bad rep would be doing the opposite of those things.
Alright, so yeah, basically everything that they said, and also with non-binary characters, we're new. This has just started happening. That's and everything right now is it's very much coming out stories for non-binary characters, and I would like to see it's already people already coming out with the they and the them and not having to do the explanation, and it's already just an accepted part, and they're just another character in the show. So yeah, right now all we've got is 5 characters that are just now coming out as non-binary. So I'm already tired of coming out stories.
Yeah, and we can talk more about that, or we can.
Yeah, I think we should jump into. We each made a slide of a bunch of examples of stuff that we want to talk about. So why don't we just jump into the first one of those slides?
Well, we don't live in the same city, and we wanted to kind of see what everybody was interested in talking about. And so we framed it in terms of what representation we liked or didn't like. There are admittedly some things that I haven't checked out yet, either because I hadn't heard of it or it just hasn't been on my radar. Look, we have pictures and things. So, yeah, some of the shows that from what I have seen and heard, are doing it really well. I could go on and on and on about what The Fosters has done. It is my #1. They hit it out of the park. Find me later, and I will talk your ear off about it for 3 hours because of everything I've ever seen. That is what has impressed me the most. I have a whole bunch of notes here about specifics of these things that I can go into. I'm also really excited about what Grey's Anatomy is doing. That's very new, whereas The Fosters just ended a week ago. but did things well. And I've been very impressed with interviews that I've read about the showrunner of Grey's Anatomy, who wanted to create this trans character and did so much research and really cared about doing it right. And again, with the intent and the information. I have not watched Billions. I have seen clips, I have read interviews, but from what I have seen, they have handled having a non-binary character on there in a very healthy way. If people in this room have watched Billions and I'm wrong, please do definitely speak up. But
wait, also really quick, do we want to do it so that, like, if you mention the show, that one of the other people talks about, that person jumps in right then? So that way we're not just, like, repeating shows?
Oh, well, sure. I don't know how much overlap. I don't think there's supposed to be.
Yeah. Did you write anything about, or did you
I didn't write anything about Billions because I've not watched it.
But about any of the other shows? Fosters,
I deeply love Aaron on the Fosters. I'm
Do you
right
want to talk
here
about
with
that
him.
a little bit?
Like, he said all the things. But no, yeah, Aaron is probably one of my favorite characters on a show ever I've seen. And the way they did his story was amazing. And the fact that he got the main female lead in the show, like they did that so well.
Yeah, so to get into some specifics of what really worked about who has seen the Fosters seasons 4 and 5, and so you know about the storyline. By the way, there will be spoilers in this conversation, so that we can actually talk about things. So the character of Aaron was introduced early in season 4, but was just part of the plot. Like, is helping them try to get someone out of jail who's not supposed to be. And we don't find out that he's trans for several episodes. And that was so important to me, that he wasn't there just to be a token trans person. You know, Emily Andrews joked in the panel yesterday about that it would be with gay characters, that they were just there to be gay. You know, would you like a sandwich? Hi, I'm gay. You know, that kind of thing. Which is incredibly frustrating. And so Aaron was introduced and played by a trans actor, super, super important. A trans actor named Elliot Fletcher, who has played a trans character on 3 different shows. This kid is 21, and he's already played 3 trans roles in 3 shows. He's my hero. But yes, so this character was plot integral, and then we find out he's trans, and it's totally a non-issue, and then he becomes a romantic interest for the lead girl on the show, and they date in season 5. And he takes that, so that's in the bottom left corner there. He takes off his shirt at a waterfall, and it's fine. They have a sex scene, and it's great. And even though they do break up at the very end of the show, I know, well, like, they were almost ending. Like, they were so close.
There's no, like, artificial gay panic of, like, her, like, being like, are you really a boy? She has no issue with it. He's a guy as far as she's concerned, and just goes right for it.
Yeah. So the Callie, the lead girl character, is incredibly respectful. And as I was watching through season 5 over the last week, just getting caught up, there was a scene that actually, it moved me to tears. And I called Krizten. I was like, I'm having a bunch of feelings, because she's an artist and she's sketching him, and he's shirtless. And I noticed right away when she showed him the portrait that she had not drawn the scars on his chest. I noticed right away, and I was like, okay, where are they going with this? Is it going to be a, well, I see you as a real man kind of thing, like ignoring his history, and that would not play well with me at all. And he noticed it, and he said, oh, you didn't draw my scars. And she said, yeah, I wanted to check with you about that, because people are going to see this, and I didn't want to out you, without your consent. And I started crying that I would see this on television, that a show would go there, and that they would show the caring and compassion for this character in this relationship. And I want more of that. Okay, I said I was going to monitor my nose on. Sense8's doing well, but I won't be talking about that today. And Shameless, the same actor on another show, did really well. I have a lot of mixed feelings about the things in the next sections. If you want to talk to me about Pretty Little Liars for 3 hours after this, I have many thoughts and feelings. So a lot of what's in there is either the trans character was the villain, or they were very unlikable, or storylines not handled in a way that's respectful to the trans community, but like there was some good representation, things like where the showrunners cared, but things didn't really play out very well. Rise is only 3 episodes in. I'm watching it. I like what they're doing with their trans-masculine character so far, who is
a non-binary actor.
A non-binary actor playing a trans guy character in high school. And so far, so good. And then I had not heard of the OA. This is a Netflix show, but has anyone seen it? Is it good?
Yeah.
Yes. Because I was stunned to discover just through internet that the showrunner said, okay, I want to have a character who's a 14-year-old Asian trans boy, and I want this character to be played by a 14-year-old Asian trans boy. Find me one. And they did. And I really want to watch it. So that's
I will say, I'm a little bit hurt. I talked about it on the panel last year that you said you were at.
I was at the panel. You can't expect me to remember anything.
I'm just saying. That's what we have it all written down this year.
Yeah.
So that you guys can remember.
My memory is super, super bad. I could spend an hour complaining about Orphan Black's Tony character. I was incredibly upset with that. I don't know if any of you here in the room are on testosterone, but like I don't do my shot on the couch in front of strangers that have just shown up at my house. Serious issues I felt with the way that was handled. And we met that character once and then never saw them again because I think they didn't really know what to do with it. And I wish that they actually hadn't done anything at all. I don't want to talk about the L word.
Yeah, I think that having it up there is
I'll specifically say, like, before I even knew what trans was, I was watching the L Word, and I remember having a viscerally bad reaction to Max, and just not understanding why, and then years later I was like, oh, that was awful. Max is the worst. And I hate Kylie Chicken forever.
Unless she's watching this video.
No, I don't care.
Great, you're just frustrated.
I'm salty, it's not happening.
I don't know who's going to see it.
I'm alright. She's not getting me a job.
As things come up, I can talk more about my stuff, but it's time to pass on.
Oh, this is mine. So, like, I have a smaller list. So, I mean, first of all, like, transparent, like, there's obviously a ton of, I mean, now it's, sorry, I don't know where to start. Even before it came to light that Jeffrey Tambor was, like, sexually harassing trans women on set, there was still a lot of problems with it being Jeffrey Tambor playing the main trans woman on the show. Like, it could have been an amazing opportunity. I mean, like, the way, and it's changing now, which is good. The way Hollywood works, like, they didn't greenlight the show until they had a star on the cast. But because of people casting trans actors in trans roles, that's changing. Because, like you said, you need to make these new stars for the new generation so that they'll be draws. They had so much good stuff going on. They had Trace Lissette, who had a great storyline with Josh. They had Hari Neff, who was amazing in flashback episodes. Of course, Alexander Billings is like amazing. And then they had other characters pop up here and there. And then also just so much of the crew was trans people. Like, I went on set once and like there were like 40 trans people there on set. It was so, like I described it as being transnormative. Like, from the bottom up, it was just like, everyone was trans there. But then, I mean, because of that one major decision, it kind of has come crashing down. Also, I mean, there are other problems with some of the things that they represented. And, like, obviously, it's a very cis story with a trans person in it. But then, about good things. Let's talk about good things. Steven Universe and Danger and Eggs are, in my opinion, both amazing at trans stuff, and they're both for kids, which makes it even better, because, like, things like turning kids gay and trans and stuff. It literally is, you know, like, if I Stevani when I was like 8 years old, I'd be like, whoa, time out. Like, what is this cool thing I can be? And like speaking of Stevani, like how amazing was that when like everyone just casually used they them pronouns for them, and they had stubble, and it wasn't like a joke. They're just like, oh yeah, I look pretty cool with stubble. The way the way the show shows Stevani just being so like normal and just like everyone thinks they're so cool is just like it's like revolutionary. It's just like, and the way they're so insistent, like, oh no, Stevani uses they them pronouns. They're not a boy or a girl. Like, I love it.
I haven't seen Steven Universe, but Danger and Eggs, that's actually the one thing that's already, there's no explanation. They just go with they, them the whole time, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's the only one that,
like even Lars, who's a total jerk, calls Stevani, uses they, them pronouns for Stevani. And it's just like, yeah, Kevin uses they, them pronouns for Stevani. Kevin's the worst. Yeah, and then Danger and Eggs, a show created by a trans woman. It had the trans people in voice cast. Tyler Ford, who's a gender playing a gender character, like incredible, a color also,
yes,
which makes it so.
They're in my next slide.
Yeah. Well, do you want to talk more about Danger and Eggs right now?
Sure.
And then it had what was.
Judge Jennings did a little song about chosen family in the Pride episode.
That whole episode is
a Pride episode. It's a children's show.
In a kids show, yeah. That's literally just about like a Pride festival.
Yes.
And about how you should love yourself and be yourself and like.
Yeah, and it's about chosen family,
and
which we all know.
It's about chosen family. It's so good. Like. Yeah. And that kind of show, it shows what's possible when trans actors and creators are given a chance.
Yes.
Because it's ever made. Like everything is like gay and people of color and trans and.
Stephanie Dietrich does like 3 different voices on that
show. It's a terrific show. You guys should watch it. I don't think it's going to get a second season because Amazon hasn't picked it up yet for second season, but I'm.
Also, the showrunner's been a little salty at Amazon on
Very
Twitter,
salty,
so.
yeah, she has. But also, she has a new show with someone else, I think, right?
I don't know that.
I think there's a different show that she's working on. Oh yeah, and then Josh Ross is the man.
Yes.
It's great. You should watch Danger and Eggs on Amazon Prime.
I'll give you my password if you don't have it.
And then, I mean, I have Ryan Murphy, like. I put him on because he has a new show coming in. Like, I normally would not. I don't usually talk about him anymore when we talk about trans stuff because his stuff is like, most of it's so regressive.
From what I've heard, Pose is going to be doing really well, though.
Yeah, Pose, though, his new show, which is like about the ballroom scene in New York and stars like 6 trans women of color. Like, seems incredible. Like, well, and I mean, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, like, I love American Horror Story. I've seen every episode of Glee 3 times. I love American Crime Story. Like, I love Ryan Murphy stuff as much as I hate him and what he does. But like, I'm gonna watch it, and I'm probably gonna cry at every episode, just seeing trans women of color.
Yeah.
Like, and trans women of color culture. That's the other thing too. Like, it's not that they're showing up in straight people's lives or cis people's lives.
Yeah.
It's that they're doing their own culture.
Ballrooms was all them.
Yeah, exactly. So it's trans history on the screen, which is amazing. And so what I'd like to see, we can talk about this more, and it's, I mean, it's stuff that we've talked about. But like, I want like trans characters who are just like casually trans.
Yeah.
Playing in like other shows,
like coming out stories are fine.
Supergirl, Right Down to Earth or something, you know, something where the show could not focus, like it wouldn't be able to focus on them being trans because they're too busy like fighting aliens or revenants or whatever, you know, like they're just trans and like the like good guys are cool with it and they don't get murdered or misgendered and it's awesome. That's what I want. We want to go to the next slide.
But like we hit on a bunch of more. Like Sense8, I just discovered Sense8 very recently, and I'm so in love with Jamie Clayton. It's not even funny. And her story, I binged through, and I tweeted. I can't remember her name. The lead.
Jen Richards?
Yes, I tweeted her. I was
Yeah.
like, how much money do I need to throw at my computer to get more of this? And she's like, actually, throwing money at your computer does nothing.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're like, we
Yeah.
tried really hard. We don't think it's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
And her story is another example of
Yeah.
something where like the whole crew is trans.
Yeah. And Angelica
they
Ross
had,
is in that.
Yeah, Angelica Ross and Jen Richards were two of the stars, and then they had Sydney Freeland, who's this amazing Native American trans woman director. She did this film called Drunktown's Finest. It's really good, and like one of the stars is a native trans woman. So if you haven't seen Drunktown's Finest, I would recommend that. And then she directed an episode of Grey's Anatomy, maybe? Sydney Freeland?
That's
Right?
I can't.
She directed something, does anyone know?
This.
No, she directed something just recently, like main TV show with a trans character in it. Sorry, I forgot that one. But yeah, so like,
Yeah.
and it was produced by trans women, and so again, it was
Yeah.
like, very accurate and real.
Yeah, and then I have like everything Caitlin Alexander touches, obviously. And then the thing that I've been the most obsessed with, I don't know if anyone still watches Degrassi, it might just be me. But this most recent season of Degrassi, they had an established character that already existed discover and come out as non-binary, and I cried like a baby. It was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. If you don't want to watch Degrassi, there's a 20-minute supercut of it on YouTube. I'll find you and show it to you. I made Alex watch it. I made John watch it.
Again, I called you. I'm 3 minutes in and I'm losing my shit, Krizten.
Send that to me.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, oh my god. It's, when they put the binder on for the first time, they have the same binder as me. But yeah, no, and everybody, they come to the discovery through their friend Lola, who, everyone needs a Lola in their life. If you don't have a Lola, go find one. I mean, Degrassi can be hit or miss. They try to touch on everything and they try to do their best, but they can fuck up. But they did so well with this storyline, and I'm obsessed with it.
Well, also, it's a 20-minute supercut.
Yeah.
That's
It's
a
10,
decent
well, yeah,
chunk
of
of
10
television.
half-hour episodes. She got, I'm really bad at this too.
You're off the panel.
Ouch!
Listen, there's a shrug emoji on my thing for a reason. I don't care. I just broke my necklace.
That's your consequence.
Yes, it's gonna never fix that for me. But yeah, I lost my train of thought.
20-minute supercut.
Oh yeah, 10 30-minute episodes, and they have a 20-minute storyline within that. It's amazing.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and then, my mix is, I think probably a lot of us feel the same way about One Day at a Time. Introducing a non-binary character was great, but going through all of the explaining of this is a they them, this is a Z, and then once they're dating Elena, girlfriend, like that's not how that works. Yes.
We actually discussed that in the panel.
Yes, I didn't get to go what happened.
I talked to a bunch of, sorry,
Okay.
interrupt.
No, yes, I want to know
talked
this.
a bunch of non-binary people, some of them were like, no, that's not okay. And a lot of them were like, yeah, that's okay. So they kind of went with that. And Mike Royce has a queer daughter, so they discussed it and they said they're going to kind of go with it.
Yeah, because my thing is if they would have just had one line of dialogue that was like, why do you call them girlfriend if they're they? And they were like, oh, well, we discussed it and they're cool with that. Then I would have been fine. But they just glossed right over it, and I'm like, no.
And that was the missing piece that was addressed in the panel.
Okay.
And
Yeah, because I didn't get
I was at the panel yesterday. I was very impressed with the response that they did do their research. And yeah, Mike Royce's daughter has 2 close friends who are non-binary. And yes, that they talked to a lot of people.
I feel better now, thank you.
It's fine. I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just, I love that they talked about that in the panel, because that was the one thing that I wanted. And I think it's important to address those things, because yes, there are clearly an infinite number of ways
Yeah,
to
it's
be
absolutely a
trans,
personal thing.
or or to be non-binary. And there are some people who would be fine with saying girlfriend and some people who wouldn't. But just to know that that character was asked, and not just people in the circle of friends of the writers were asked, is an important acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Also, how cool is it that we're getting shows now that are long enough and have trans characters for long enough where they can then do that storyline where they're like, oh yeah, we introduced this character before, then in the next season, we're gonna go like, oh yeah, this is why they use different pronouns versus girlfriend.
Yeah.
Like that's what we need also. Just like consistently long storylines so that the character can grow. So that you don't have to have just like one big coming out episode. You know, you can be like, oh yeah, in this episode they use they them pronouns. In this episode they have a conversation with their best friend about something. In this conversation or in this episode, because that's how it is. You know, you don't just come out all at once and then never have to like explain trans stuff again.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we're on a panel explaining trans stuff.
So you can constant process. Yeah, and then I was already salty about the L word. We don't have to go back to that.
So then, you go on to your side.
You don't mind?
Yeah.
Alright, so you probably noticed that I haven't really said too much about any of the shows that they talk about. And we discussed this at several of the meetings online, and I said, look guys, these shows all sound great, but I've been so busy with acting and other things, and up on my topics list you'll see that, yes, I've been auditioning for film and theater, and get to interact with, as everybody else here has said already, cast and crew when you do sets. Play, you know, I've had to juggle. Do I want to play cross-gender roles now or not? Because I established a name as my prior self, and then to come out as the true me, it's really, really, really difficult to go through this. So, looking back at the top, nerves and focusing, oh my God, you're talking about nerves. I thought it was bad when I went in there before. Now, what do I wear? Do I go in with my natural hair? Do I put on a wig? Do I just be me? Do I go in there and try to be the part? And I can tell you from experience, never, ever, ever try to be the exact part. Because the reason why directors are holding auditions and casting directors are holding auditions is they want to see a variety. Okay? So, be yourself. That's the big thing. That's my takeaway from this, is be myself. Go in there. As you'll see there, it says stay true to you and your character. What that means is, for me, when I was auditioning, I did research the character. But I researched the character more on an intellectual level as opposed to a physical appearance level. So if you can get the character across, great. It sells in a lot of the programming that they've already talked about. But it also sells for the writers. Doing the cross-gender roles, you know what? That's really a tough call. Because do you want to play the role to get your name out there? Or do you want to stick to your guns? That's a personal question. Singing roles and being trans. I have been in bands and I've sang and I've performed in venues well over 20,000 people. Scary. But here's the thing. I'm transitioning. Do I have to sing high like your typical female? No. As a matter of fact, if you go back and you look, a lot of the Noor singers, a lot of the torch singers had very sultry, deep voices. And there's quite a few people out there that find them sexy. LGBTQIA. I've heard from the panel so far, what my takeaway on this, listening to all the stories, it sounds like the fan base would prefer, once again, stories about LGBTQIA, all of them. And you want better storylines and multimedia. But it also has to be supported by the fans. The fans have to say, hey, we love this, or hey, we hate this. Why did you do that? And that's why these conventions are great. You get to meet the writers, the directors, the actors that are up there. And voice yourself. Don't be afraid about it. So that leads me to my background. My background, actually, like I said, I am a transgender person. I identify as she, female, so I am a transgender actress. Okay? But I'm also a veteran. Now, where does that come into play in the multimedia world? You'd be surprised. I just got done with the film, and the film I did, I actually talked to the director, who was the writer of the story. She had a goal in mind. She wanted an actual transgender person playing the transgender role. She put the transgender person in there. the basic synopsis is everybody goes blind, you don't know who's who. So you get thrown in with a bunch of people. Nobody there knew I was, transgender at the time. And how did we play that off? It's something that's really hard for transgender people in general, and that is, I had to do something that's a trigger for a lot of transgender people. And that is to go from this voice down to this voice. So when you're talking like this, transgender people try not to do that. It's a severe trigger for them. So I forewarned her. And it worked out, and I said, hey, look, I will, even if I don't get the part, I will be somebody that you can rely on and talk to and ask about this. And she did audition several other people, and she said she sensed it. After I talked to her about trigger warnings and whatnot, she sensed it. And so, for me, playing a character is that. You have to play a character. So let's lighten up a little bit. My mixed topics. Sorry about that. My mixed topics. I don't get to watch a lot of TV, but I do get to browse the web sometimes when I'm sitting in between scenes. And a couple of my favorite little comics that have been online that I fell in love with, Assigned Male Comics by Sophie Lavelle. She's actually Canadian. She's a young lady. She takes a lot of hits from trolls, but if you read her comics, you'll find that she covers the broad spectrum and growing up as LGBTQIA. And I mean all of them, non-binary. She has a whole group of friends. And it's just such a fun little comic. But it also deals with parents and public. But it does so with a soft hand. Now if you want something that deals with a little more heavy-handed, you look at the lower left-hand picture that says you're already valid in your gender with a lot of hearts under it. You talk about very heavy-handed. She is very rough and heavy-handed on the way she handles stuff. Life with Bria. Sabrina Symington, also Canadian. But I tell you what, she's no holds barred. She'll put people on her comics and she tells it like it is. But she's also working on a new thing. It's called Starfish Gemini. It's a totally different comic. Dinosaurs, LGBTQIA in a fantasy world. It's really neat. And then there's Chaotic Kiss. Chaotic Kiss by Michelle Pinard. She's out of Boston. She also has, and that's the top picture up there. These are all independent artists that do these comics, and she has a whole geeky cast of characters which are just hilarious at times, and there's some that are very touching. So I get to read those in my spare time, in between learning lines and songs and dancing and placement and trying to make contacts and going out there more. And then on top of that, working my regular job, which is software data analysis for, I can't really say it. It's a government contractor. So the latest thing I've had to deal with, and I've been able to do a lot of reading, and I started watching Sense8, as well as I started watching the show last night. It's a little show, I don't know if a bunch of you have heard it yet. Winona Earp. I gotta say, first episode, first season, it does really you in. Much better than, for me, Sense8. I like the characters in Sense8, however, it's taken like 4 or 5 episodes to start understanding the dang thing.
You don't understand it yet, trust me.
My wife over there, she watched 5 minutes of it and she went, I'm done. You watch it, so that was great. But, and the off topic is, the reason why I was able to have that much time and look at some of that, and this is really important to me. Sorry. Open heart surgery. I had it. Here's what happened. We decided to take a long trip. During the long trip, afterwards, I said, something doesn't feel right. Hands going a little numb. Pain here. Pain just on this side. His arm's getting weak. So I went to my doctor, veteran. So I went to the VA. I said, hey, look, primary care. Something doesn't feel right. He said, it's probably nerves. Go to the emergency room, get checked out. To the emergency room, they said, oh gosh, that could be hard. Well, let's take an x-ray of your neck. And they found my neck went the wrong way. And they said, well, go to a chiropractor and get it straightened out and do some massage. And I did that for 3 months. Okay? So, after 3 months, I'm like, it's not right. So I went ahead and said, hey, primary care, let's do a stress test. I'm tired of this. Stress test, I didn't complete it. They misunderstood me at one point. I got 90% of the way through. And they said, oh, it's inconclusive. We're going to have to do a chemical stress test. That's scary. They inject you with chemicals, ramp your heart up, and then inject you with chemicals and ramp it back down. So because I did this, they found out that echocardiogram showed my heart was super strong because it was very athletic beforehand. So cardiogram also showed my heart very strong. Nothing wrong with the heart. However, while I was on set for this latest movie, I'm sitting there, my phone rings, and it's the doctor, and he says, do not go to this chemical stress test. Do not stress out over the weekend. We need you to come in for an emergency cardiogram. And long story short, I had to go to UCLA. They found that during the emergency cardiogram, I had 3 blocked arteries, 1 at 50, 2 at 90, 1 which was the widowmaker. Chris hates that term. During open heart surgery, the chief surgeon said, there's no way she can hold on. So at that point, did the whole operation. Found I had 4. The 4th one was 100% blocked. My takeaway to this is, 1, it's been a month and a half. So you can get up and get going. But the biggest thing to do, listen to your body. Okay? Please. And because of that time, I've been able to catch up on some of the stuff, but it sucked. So, sorry I didn't mean to get that on you and bring you down, but please, 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 do listen to your own self.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we're all really glad that you're here and able to be on this day. Audience questions, yeah? But please. Does anyone have questions? Yeah?
I had a pretty straightforward one on going back to the lists, which I think is a great way to do that. That was really great. John, so Orphan Black.
Yes.
And I also have really, okay, you said it was mixed. I have mixed feelings about it. I wonder how much of the discomfort or the not pursuing of the storyline was because of the nature of that show and the storyline, it was inherent that they were having a cis female play a trans male. I do wonder, how much of that was in play, and just, I don't know, I guess also whether or not they felt like they had enough time or resource or storyline to afford Tony like what he deserved in the season. I don't know. I think that show is so complicated, and it makes me wonder whether or not they would have been able to. It's not I'm not making excuses. I'm just wondering what just to think more on that. I suppose.
Yeah,
about the actor.
It's such a good show. It's such a complicated show, and I think that particular storyline had a lot of layers of things that were playing into it. We have a cisgender actress who's playing a trans role. We have so many clones of stories that we're trying to tell.
Right, they're already questioning genetics.
Right, there's a lot in play. They have 1 clone who is queer, or 2, really. 2.
Yeah.
No, I keep forgetting about Sarah. So there's definitely a lot of play. And when I went online afterward, because I went on Tumblr and I had to vent, and what I saw was the random blogs that I saw, people, like trans people were excited about representation, and I didn't see anybody else who was mad about it like I was. And so I was like, okay, well, maybe I'm wrong, I'll just shut up. For me, what was really tough about it was it felt like, and I don't know what conversations were had in the writing room, I don't know what research they did, but it felt to me like somebody had taken a stereotype of what they thought a trans person was, or that they read a Wikipedia article of, okay, here are all the things that I know about a trans person, I need to put these into a 60-second scene. They're doing a tee shot on the couch in front of strangers who had just come to your house. That was unacceptable to me. There was something about a Packer, or it's been years since I've seen it. I can't rewatch it, or I haven't. But there was something junk related. It seemed like we know all of these buzzwords and we want to show you that we know what this is. It just felt to me like it was that they meant well, but it was poorly executed for me personally. And I've had to wonder if part of why there are shows on these lists that I haven't seen or heard of, I don't necessarily seek out, oh, this show has a trans character, like find me trans characters. And I've done some reflecting on that since I was asked to be on this panel. Why do I not go seeking that? And I think part of it is because I'm afraid that things are going to not feel good to me. You know, if I say they're done wrong, like it's all personal, it's judgmental, but for me personally, as a trans person watching this, if you have a trans character and it's like, oh, this is supposed to represent you, it can be really hard when there's such limited representation and something doesn't feel good. So, anyway, that was a long answer. We need to take other questions.
Thank you.
Sorry. Because I completely forget about one of my favorite movies of absolutely all time.
We didn't talk about xerophilia at all.
So there is a movie called Xerophilia that is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I've foisted it upon my friends. And even though there's a lot of cheesiness to it, it makes me cry every time. The one sentence synopsis is there are characters in this movie who, when they have an orgasm, their body completely shifts to the opposite sex. And so they get to experience both. And they live the dream for some of us. And I forgot about that.
You have your hand raised in classes? Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you have specific recommendations, shows or movies that maybe best generate empathy or even decency for parents of trans teens who are struggling.
So, reaction.
Well, I mean, I think Danger and Eggs, watching
I
Jazz
think this
Demi's
season of
character.
Degrassi would be great for like the non-binary. I don't know if it, because they didn't do great with their trans guy a few seasons back. But, yeah.
Anything else? Shows like that. Any other questions? Sorry that we don't have more. Yeah, that's the thing that I'd like to see more.
Yeah,
Parents
that
being
would be
supportive of
great.
their trans kids.
Yeah.
Or even their like
There's
adult
parents.
trans kids.
I do have one
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
There's actually a vendor out here who I recommend to go and see, and I see some people already have the shirts here. That is with the LGBT fans DB, Deserve Better. Get a chance, go check them out. Because from what I've been reading about them, and what I've been hearing about them, they have a lot of what we want, and they're trying to help.
So, yeah.
I also want to
Oh,
I
yes.
haven't watched it yet.
I have fitted it.
Okay.
I loved that movie until the final line. I'm sorry, I just started talking. Did you have a question, or was
Well,
it
my
just
thoughts
on
were
the scene?
like, have you seen it and if so, what are you?
Yeah, so this is a French film about a young kid, a born female kid who moves to a new town and meets a group of kids who just assume that this is a boy. And this kid's like, yes, hi, my name is Michael. Yes, hello. And just is absorbed into this group of friends as a boy. And has just this beautiful journey of oh, I can take my shirt off when I'm playing soccer. This is really cool. Oh, we're going swimming. Okay, I'm going to take Play-Doh, and I'm going to roll up a thing that I can put in my little Speedo so that I don't accidentally out myself as a girl to my friends. And it's beautiful until the last 10 seconds. Like this, the Michael character has romance and everything. In the last 10 seconds, it's like, yeah, my name is this girl name. I'm actually a girl. Movie's over, done. So just don't watch that final part
really quick.
Otherwise, it's great.
Oh, wait.
What was the name of that movie?
Tomboy.
Tomboy. Okay.
Yes.
There's a great documentary on Amazon Prime. I think it's actually free right now. It's called In the Turn. It's about a young trans girl in Canada who they won't let her play sports because they don't know where to put her. And she finds a community boarder. And it's about trans, queer, non-binary figure skaters. It's called In the Turn. It's beautiful.
I read that.
Cry. Can't say enough.
Well, also for stuff about like parents supporting kids, there's an episode. There was this HBO like mini documentary series called Quinceañeras. There's an episode about a young trans girl having her quinceañera, and like her family totally is supportive, and it's amazing. She was also in like an earlier documentary made by Fox, I think. And Jazz Jennings' parents.
yeah.
So you can watch her show. Like
Watch any of I Am Jazz.
Yeah, I Am Jazz. Her parents are super supportive. Yeah.
I was wondering if you guys saw about the Survivor contestant who got outed.
Oh yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Survivor's my #1 show. I have many. Let's talk after.
Yes, yeah, I think you guys need to talk about